All right, episode 7. Now, I've been running into copyright problems for my episode and 6, 7 reviews. My episode 5 review, I involved clips and that was fine, but I think since they changed it after episode 5, where you can't watch early Saturday mornings anymore, only late at Saturday night and, of course, Sunday during the premiere, they might be a little bit stricter with the copyright. So, I don't know, I'm tired of trying to dance around the fair use. I'm just going to give this way a shot, show a little bit snippet, and then give my thoughts on everything.
Piece of free advice. Stay clear, my brother.
He's trying.
Mike's trying, gets people killed.
So the issue I have with this is the lone wolf thing that he's doing. He just told Merle to fuck off. He's basically told Mike to fuck off when he denied the visit. Now, how thick is his plot armor going to be? Is he going to conveniently be protected by Raphael and the Blacks? If so, it's just more of the same. Now, we've seen him try to do other things where he was a boat cop. He tried to be SWAT. He's been suspended before and he was building sheds in the backyard. I don't know if he was supposed to be coked up. He seemed a little coked up. I can't really remember if that was ambiguous or not. But either way, I think his story's run its course. Now, I don't have anything against the character. I actually like Kyle, and the actor's fine. But as far as what else can we do with him, he can't become a police officer again. He obviously is not going to go to the dark side and be some killer if he's doing moral things like this. So I think killing him off would actually be good for the story itself. Even though that would suck for Mike losing his brother and his mom and then his other brother. But just as far as, again, the story goes, I think killing him off would be a pretty good move. So speaking of killing off, I'm a little torn on this because I like Robert, but they painted him into the corner story-wise. He's become the trope of the hot-headed guy that's lost everything, found the bottom of the bottle. He's getting closer and closer to the edge. He might snap. Now, I was thinking he was going to kill Evelyn, but then when I saw the cinder block through the windshield a few episodes back and she survived that, I knew she wasn't going to get killed off. And then he started talking about Mike, so Ian elected to take him out this way. When Ian first pulled into the garage and I saw the gloves, I thought he was going to do a suicide by gun thing. This is actually interesting because it can make it look like somebody that's lost everything and they are trying to take themselves out this way, or because he was hitting the sauce so hard he passed out and died that way. Either way, it looks legitimate, but we've also seen Evelyn get her hands on ring cams and traffic cams, so that might put Ian back into the crosshairs big time. Plus, we actually don't even see if Robert dies here. I mean, I would imagine so. You can only take so much carbon monoxide, but if he does wake up, does he remember enough to set his sights on Ian, and that becomes part of his rage? Or does he wake up and be like, holy fuck, my life is shit. I need to get my shit together. I almost died. You know, what about my boy? This and that. Because we saw him at the park earlier. He obviously loves his son. So, and that could come up too, like suspicion, like he would not kill himself. But again, he could pass out because he's so shit-faced. There was witnesses that saw him together. I don't know which way they'll go with this. But the reason I'm torn is like because I understand. I think this was, and I'm going to sound like I want all these characters to die. I don't. But story-wise, some of them are getting painted into a corner where there's not much more you could do. This guy was obviously reaching the edge and was going to do something crazy. So kind of got to nip that in the bud. But I actually liked Robert as a character. If he's dead. If he's not, I still like him.
You hid her because you were a good mother, but there are no true hiding places. You know that.
So in my previous review, episode 6, which is blocked like I mentioned, I was asking, what is her scope of involvement? Because we knew she was involved in everything, but my feeling was the gun in the car was more of protection from the cartel than it was she's some bad bitch. And now we get an answer to that. She was in fact being blackmailed. I didn't know if it was that or if she was if she was installed to do what she's doing with the suit guy. But I was kind of leaning with the gun in the car and everything. I was kind of leaning more towards she was protecting herself from the cartel. It was some kind of blackmail. She got caught up in a situation. I did not think it was like an extortion of her daughter, which is interesting. And then she mentions that Torres fucked up. That's the suit guy's name, I believe. not being careful. I have no doubt that they're going to trace it back to that little black security guard guy, or security guard, prison guard guy, because I think there's going to be like a throwaway scene where that woman that caught him snooping is going to be say something to the suit dude who's going to get grilled by this guy. Like, hey, next time you want to know something, don't send so and so. And then it's probably going to trace back to the little black dude and who he knows. And it could create more of a divide again with the warden and Mike. But I think her back's pretty much against the wall. She's probably going to put a lot of pressure on trying to get Frank. So it's interesting. I like seeing there's a little bit of a redemption for her, which could be interesting. I don't know if she stays a warden for the next season. Maybe Mike helps her out of this jam, but I think the cartel's here to stay. And we saw Merle escape. I think Merle is being set up for a season 5 villain, but we're going to need a little bit more than that probably. I don't think cartel is going to get wiped out. I think they're going to kind of take care of Lenny James and get rid of Frank Moses this season. But this was an interesting touch. It kind of makes you sympathize a little bit more because she was doing a good job. Edie Falco was nailing it, being a bitch, about her business. But I'm glad that this was answered because I was wondering, I thought it was blackmail, but I didn't think about a daughter or something, maybe because of her age. But of course, a grown woman, that, as you see, is still a threat. So I like this.
Fucking loser. Fucking loser.
So I've been saying I've only done a few reviews, but they've been blocked. So I'll repeat. I think Cindy's just a plot device. I think her kids are just an emotional ploy for when something bad happens to her. And I pointed out they were setting it up. The last episode, this guy was rubbing one off and he was struggling. And they show her texting her kids and he's looking at her and he's getting pissed off. And then you see him slamming the locker. He's got impotent rage. Now he's the one that's accused of raping the inmates, so he was moved. And you see him snap and rage out on that one inmate when the inmate's kind of giving him shit about the rape allegations. Now I've always wondered, because that one inmate, that female inmate that set off that whole thing for him being transferred, she's the one that fucked that one cop or prison guard under the stairwell and then killed him and claimed that he raped her as well. So I don't know, maybe does he only get hard when he's like doing an assault, or has he never actually been an assaulter because he can't perform, and now his impotent rage is getting a hold of him? I'm not sure. Either way, I think they're still setting up that this guy might snap and hurt Cindy. Either he tries to assault her and she fights back and he just rages out, tosses her around, kills her, or just beats the fuck out of her. I'm not sure, but if he does snap, they need to do a better job of it. It needs to be more significant than, I think it was season 1. They kept showing this one prison guard. He had a miserable life. He had the mentally disabled son. That fucking bitch wife of his was riding his ass. And then, his co-workers were giving him shit. So I thought he was going to really snap, like murder-suicide, shoot a bunch of co-workers or his family, take himself out. But then the riot was going on, and it was just weird. He was like yelling at the National Guardsmen, like, hey, this is my post. And then he shot at him, and then he got shot. And they kept focusing on him a few times. And I thought they were going to build something up for him to snap and do something crazy. And it turned out to be a nothing burger. This, I don't hope that he like hurts Cindy or anything, but I hope that they're actually building up to something significant. Because if not, we don't need so much focus on this guy struggling to jerk off in the parking lot. We don't need to focus on him eyeballing Cindy, and setting her up to be alone with this guy and all that stuff. If he's just going to get in trouble for beating up an inmate and then get arrested or something stupid. I don't know. I'm just saying it needs to be significant. I still think that Cindy's pretty much just a plot device. I don't buy into her relationship that much. Her kids aren't really that involved. Although they did have some significance in this episode. Again, I'm going off of what I was saying in my previous, based off when he was jerking off in the parking lot or whatever. So I guess we'll find out. So if they do make him snap, it's got to be something that means something.
So we're gonna set Moses up and do what no one else has been able to do. We're gonna put this fucker in prison.
Then he's ball.
Then he's all yours.
So I don't think many of us expected Bunny to die. I mean, really. But I do like this season's been really good for me because I felt like this is the first time Mike's really had his back up against the wall. He doesn't have very many allies like he has in the past, and that's why I like this because we know what the end game is. Hawkeye's getting all the Avengers together, but we're kind of setting the goal, what the goal is, and what the end game is. We need to start wrapping this up. There's only 3 episodes left. There's only so much back against the wall. Mike's always had his back up against the wall in previous seasons, but it's always seemed like the stakes weren't as high as they are now, or maybe that's just me. But this has been the first time where I really felt like core characters could be killed off, or where they are losing situations. I guess it's kind of conveniently worked out where he just teamed up with the warden, made a deal. They're like, oh, okay, I see you're tough and I'm tough. All right, let's get Frank. But that's just how Sheridan writes, really. Everything's convenient and plot devices. So I like this because, all right, now we got something to root for. It's been a while. It feels like it's been a while that we got some momentum going, or we see the light at the end of the tunnel, or what the goal is, and we got something to root for. I do want to point out too, on the last episode, the way that ended with Mike and Bunny in prison, or in the hospital, is Bunny being in a coma and Mike ignoring Ian's phone call because he just wanted to have that moment with Bunny. I thought that was really genuine because Bunny doesn't know Mike's there, and Mike could answer the phone, and he knows Ian's calling him. It's probably important, but that moment, I just really liked that. So if you guys remember, if you saw that scene, I thought that was a really great way to end that episode, and it really highlights that their bond. It just makes everything more genuine to me. So, hopefully this one goes through. I don't get copyright on this. Sorry if it was the quality was low or whatever. I'm just trying to get around that fair use. So those are my thoughts, and let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and thanks for stopping by.